If you haven't heard of Peak, where have you been for the last 2 months? This indie game has taken over the internet by storm. Peak is a multiplayer cooperative experience where you and your friends have to try your best to climb to the peak. But what if you didn't climb at all? At the start of each run, there is a Frisbee located by the plane. I had an idea. What if I had a mod made that turned the flying disc into an ender pearl? And that's what I did. In the displacement mod by Glarmer, linked to both the mod and the mod maker in the description below, whenever you throw frisbees, you are teleported to wherever the frisbee lands. That can be on the side of a tree, the side of a cliff, an urchin, and even a cactus. In the mod, there are also some adjustable features such as adding purple smoke to the frisbee, having the frisbee return back into your inventory, and even a cooldown feature that limits how often you can throw the frisbee. My goal in this video is to make it to the peak while my movement is limited to only wherever I throw the frisbee. Will I be playing on the easiest settings of all time? Yes. Do I regret it? No. This challenge is a lot harder than I thought, and so without further ado, let's get right into the video. And once again, thank you Glarmer for making this mod. This would not be possible without you. So I started off thinking that throwing a frisbee at a wall would be a good idea. However, I soon realized that mere mortals cannot survive falls from great heights. I tried throwing myself onto a bridge, however, I must be on the Death Star because my aim is worse than a stormtrooper's. I finally worked up the courage to get out of the caves of Minecraft and start editing this video, but I took a detour and took the scenic route as I fell to my death. I reached the top of Celadon department store and got TM48 for Rock Slide. Rest in peace to me and any Charizards I may encounter. Anything that goes up must come down. This was said by Sir Isaac Newton, who is just like me. We both died virgins. Here is a clip from National Geographic showing natural selection at its finest. This man earned himself the Darwin Award for his hands-on experiments with deadly poisonous vines. Prisoners on death row are given the option of having a final meal before they're executed. In my final moments, I tried consuming this bandage. George, George, George of the jungle, strong as he can be. Watch out for that tree. 911, what's the emergency? Help! There's a cat stuck in a tree! The firefighters quickly arrived on the scene, and to their dismay, it was not a cat stuck in a tree, but it was me. Thankfully, they still helped me get to the bottom. When I arrived in the Mesa, I put on my explorer's hat, holstered my whip, and began to look for the Ark of the Covenant. My search led me to the tomb, where I had to navigate a long and arduous maze. I don't know if it was the claustrophobia talking, but the voices in my head started speaking about justice and vengeance. I developed an irrational fear of bats, and decided that once I escape, I want to put on spandex and fight crime with the $20 in my bank account. After getting stuck in every nook and cranny of the maze, I became thankful for having braces during my teenage years. While it was painful every time they were tightened, and I never really followed procedure when it came to rubber bands, at least I overcame the gaps. One mistake with the frisbee would send me deep into the earth cavity, never to be found again. At the end, sitting on a pedestal was not the Ark of the Covenant, but a hidden immunity idol with a note saying that the final time I can play it is at the final 5. And thank Bing Bong I found the hidden immunity idol, because at the next tribal council I would need to play it. I received the majority of the votes and even suffered a fall that would 100% have killed me if I did not have the idol. However, the idol nullifier was played in the form of a cactus. As a scorpion approached me, the cactus did me in, and I succumbed to my death. I turn on the TV and go to the local news station to check the weather forecast. I thought it was going to be raining cats and dogs, but the weather called for fire and acid rain, which Rihanna's umbrella couldn't protect me from. As Demi Lovato sang to Joe Jonas and Camp Rock 2 The Final Jam, this is driving me insane. I teleported myself to the nearest Slim Shady, and as grounding pool roads, let the bodies hit the floor. Doing so caused me to lose consciousness and put an end to my bloodline Looney Tunes style. The hardest hurdle for me to overcome in this challenge was the local flora. While the urchins on the shore and the poisonous vines were an issue in the tropics, nothing could have prepared me for the cacti of the Mesa. Many of my deaths in this biome were attributed to paralysis from having cactus spines stuck in my real spine. I'm 10 minutes from my 25th birthday, and my back's been hurting all day. I guess I'm already getting old. Something about dying this close to the campfire makes me think I should probably schedule an acupuncture appointment. The worst part about being on a good run is when you suddenly get stuck in a hole and you lose your frisbee. Like, I had to climb out of this hole to search for my frisbee, and it just wasn't there. Like, where did my frisbee go? It's just bullshit, man. It's bullshit, that's all it is. My journey to the North Pole was a perilous one. I must have been on Saints' naughty list this year because instead of getting the RTX 5090, I instead got my head concussed on the back of a coal vein. To end off the winter holidays, we count down to the new year not with the Times Square crystal ball, but with myself in freefall. Caldera was the most fun biome in this challenge because it was so fun just throwing the Frisbee and watching wherever it lands. We as a nation must come together and stop the terror that is Caldera. Now watch this drive. And I somehow made it across the green and survived. Like, I should be a dead man here, but I quickly used my thinking skills to throw myself onto the nearest rock. Maybe this is the run? Actually, it wasn't the run, because while reaching for the luggage, I overshot it by a little bit and decided to rage quit and go to sleep for the night. I finally decided to ask out my crush, and just like the script for this video, it played out like a movie. I rehearsed my lines, I went to her, I asked her out, and then I crashed and burned. In my freshman year of high school, I decided to try out for the JV baseball team, and it turns out you probably won't get picked to be on the team if you can't hit the ball off the tee, because that's exactly what this Frisbee throw is like. We're soaring, flying, there's not a star in heaven that we can't reach if we're trying, so we're breaking free. Sometimes I wish my high school experience was like High School Musical. Also, thank you Disney for not letting me use the song in this video so I have an excuse to sing. My Mount Rushmore of YouTube would be PewDiePie, Smosh, Ryan Higa, and Ray William Johnson. But just like them, I suffered the same fates. I fell off. But enough of those failures. It is time to find out the answer to the lifelong question. Can you beat Peak while only using a Frisbee? As I opened my eyes, I realized I'm just like DB Cooper. I jumped out of the plane and lived. I collect a Frisbee and my starting luggage. I get some nice airline food and a backpack. I make it to the bottom of the mountain, and the run's already starting off badly where I take about a fourth of my health and fall damage. I work my way up the shore, and I do some throws that I'm pretty proud of. I decide to give myself a pat on the back and some Scooby snacks for later. The fog starts to rise, and I decide to take some baby throws to get myself into a good position. Then I take one small throw for man and one giant throw for mankind. I do a pretty insane save here, and as a famous man once said, Frisbees don't fall faster. As you get higher up on the shore, you start to see more trees, and that's an indicator for some trick shots. I'm dude perfect, and here's my across the bridge shot. Damn, that was fire. I make it to the first ancient statue, and as a reward, I receive a fairy lantern. The most ideal path I found for this seed in the tropics was to climb to the top of this tree. This would get me oh so close to the very top. I get about halfway up the tree and the fog starts to rise. The cool thing about throwing Frisbee under tree leaves is that you can clip onto the top of the leaf by hitting the bottom of the leaf at the right angle. I use this several times and abuse it so I can get up this gigantic ash tree. Once I get up, I have to throw the Frisbee across a massive valley, and I thankfully make it on not my first, not my second, but probably my 5th or 6th attempt. This is the farthest I've made in this run, and I'm really proud of myself. I found that going to the edge of the map where the fog is actually a cheat code to get up the top easier. I can make smaller throws that each time get me closer and closer to the top. This is essentially the hardest throw in this challenge I did. I died on here several times, and the great thing about it is once I finally got past it, it was easy to get to the top of the tropics. There was no more obstacles, it was a piece of cake. If I had a nickel for every time I got a fairy lantern from an ancient statue, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. In the Mesa, I hung out with my capybara friends Edgar and Rocky. They may not be the brightest bunch, but they kept me company, and I couldn't have done this without them. Throwing myself across a canyon is always fun, and I got really good at saving myself from falling to my death by quickly timing my Frisbee throw. There's nothing better than waking up on Christmas morning and realizing that you have presents under the Christmas tree. That's what happened to me when I threw myself on top of this hill and I found 2 luggage crates. Best day ever. Oh, the Places You Go. That's a book by Dr. Seuss, and also what I thought when throwing this Frisbee into no man's land. Just like in the tropics, I was stuck in the fog for a little while, this time much longer, and I feel this path was absolutely necessary because I could not find another way to the top in any of my other runs going on the other side of the mountain. Once I exit the fog, I am closer to the top and the sun is starting to go down. This means I will take a lot less fire damage, and once I get closer to the top, I will stop taking fire damage completely. I was really worried about going for the ancient statue in this one because last time I did the ancient statue in this level, I kind of died of the cactus right after it. But this is an anti-rope cannon, so alas, it was not worth it. In Caldera, I decided to take it the easy way and not try to do any solo YOLO shots across the Caldera like I did in the past. I feel like taking it slow when I'm this close to the end is probably the best maneuver if I don't want to do 1,000 more tries. I wish Caldera was like a bit more difficult, even like with or without the Frisbee. Like, it's such like an easy level to get across. 9 times out of 10 I can get through without a problem. And I just don't see why there shouldn't be a difficulty increase in this level. Like, there's no fog, so you can take your sweet ass time getting to the end, and all the jumps are fairly easy. And just like that, we have reached the ancient statue in Caldera. Now, there are so many goodie bags here for me to collect, and spoiler alert, I got nothing useful from any of them. It is time to make my way into the kiln, where I will have one final step to reach the peak, and that is climb the volcano. Honestly, this kiln is pretty easy. At the start, I just throw myself onto one of the rocks at the start, and there's basically a path of rocks that gets me about 1/4 of the way up to the top. Once I get to this giant long path in the middle of the volcano, it starts to get difficult. I throw myself over to a giant rock sticking out on the right, and I kind of get lost in where to go. Every throw is dangerous and could easily send me tumbling to my death, so I have to do more YOLO shots in order to make it up. While trying to throw myself over to this lava rock, I experienced a very close encounter that should have killed me. I grabbed onto the ledge and then quickly switched into my Frisbee and threw it into a safe spot. I lied at Caldera when I said that most of the items I got were stupid, because I actually got this parasol which came in handy when I needed to float my way down slowly onto the luggage crate instead of falling to my death. From this point, I basically see the top and I can see the path to get there. But funny enough, it takes me around another 25 minutes to actually get to the peak, so what's the delay? Well, what took me so long is that when I got to the top, I suck, and I missed an easy throw onto this spike, and I decided to instead fall to the ground, losing all of my health. I had quick thinking, I used my umbrella to fall slower, and I used a fairy lantern to heal, and then I slowly descended my way onto the bottom platform. I'm back where I was, and my dumbass thinks it's a good idea to go for that same throw again, but this time from a little higher up. I miss, but then I save myself instantly, so I'm like really panicking at this point. I'm like, oh my god, I almost died, oh my god, I'm almost at the top, can I do this, can I actually beat peak while only using the Frisbee? And it's time for the final throw. I throw myself onto this ledge, I aim up, and I hope for the best. And with that, I actually am at the top of the volcano. My only task now is to make it to the pretty garden in the helicopter that's over yonder. And with that, I made it to the peak by day 6. I could have done it by day 5, however, I fell off the kiln, which probably wasn't the best for my time. Honestly, when I started this challenge at first, I didn't think it'd be possible because normally when you throw the Frisbee, it doesn't go that far. However, I had to teach myself some tricks like jumping up before I throw the Frisbee causes it to gain more speed, and if I like flicked my mouse at an angle, it caused it to get some height, which really helped in the tropics and the Mesa levels. So all there's left to do now is to grab the flare and wait for the helicopter to arrive. I decided to be a little cheeky and throw the Frisbee off the volcano and see if I can land at the bottom. However, I don't think that's possible since the maps like despawn once you reach the new biome. Yeah, so this was a really fun challenge. I recommend you all do it. The mod will be in the description below, and thank you again to Glarmer for making this mod, and without him this would not be possible. So I enter the lovely helicopter, see my beautiful character with all my merit badges, and yeah, I beat Peak with a Frisbee in 57 minutes and 50 seconds. Thank you so much for watching. I bid you all adieu.